Welcome back to another episode of Clear the Air, the Simply Stogies Podcast After Show. I'm your host, Tim. And if you're new here, I know you're not, but if you are, here's what happens. You go out, you watch the latest and greatest episode of your favorite cigar podcast, Simply Stogies. And then after that, you come here and you listen to me, James, and Nick talk about the latest interview that they've had or the latest episode, whichever it is. But luckily or unluckily for you, this episode is going to be a little bit different as we talk about the latest episode with Joshua Habursky. I don't know why I always get last names wrong. James is not going to be here this episode because he is a little bit under the weather. So today it is just me and my friend Nick. So let's get Nick up here and see how he's doing. Nick, what is going on with you?
Hey man, I'm back in Jersey, enjoying the cold, the snow, just where I wanted to be.
Yeah, right.
Actually, actually, as you know, I make every effort to not be in New Jersey during these months, and thankfully, enough things keep me busy in more tropical areas like Costa Rica, where my factory is, and in a couple weeks, I will be traveling to Havana for the Havana Festival, the Habanos Fest. And, the reality is, I don't know how many more times I'm going to go. I've gone to every Habanos Festival since 2010 was my first year. No,
Oh,
I'm sorry,
wow.
2009. 2009.
Wow,
And
okay.
2010 was a special year because they released the Vehique and there was all to do about that. And it's just getting, I don't know, people follow Cuba news. It's there's just a lot going on, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Cuba with our new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Good old
Again,
Marco.
this is not a political show, but
Nope.
people that know Marco Rubio is a of Cuban descent, and his whole platform has been, anti-Cuban government, and so he's gonna, I don't know, he's gonna crack down. So it'll be
Well,
interesting to see.
it will be interesting to see. And so you are in fact going this year, right?
Yeah, I was on the
You-
fence, and I'm still on the fence, and it's, a couple weeks away, but it's like, you know what? I don't know. It may be my last hurrah. I really, I've been going to Cuba for over 15, 16, 17 years, and it's changed a lot. And, all the contacts and friends and people that I've met through the years, the reality is 75% of those people don't live there anymore. They're they're in the United States. So fortunately, I still have a few people there, and of course the people at Habanos. And it's been a little bit controversial with their pricing and their huge Asia impact and direction. And I know a
right.
lot of the other distributors, especially in Europe, where the pricing has really affected their purchase. And the people buying, So now it's really a market for non-Cubans to really venture out into the rest of the world. Where before, people were not as keen to do that. And the reality was, once you figure in all these taxes, the difference between a Cuban cigar and a non-Cuban cigar was very small. The percentage was not big enough for people to take a chance and try to smoke a non-Cuban. But now, because of the difference in pricing, people are more like saying, "Hey, listen, maybe it's time that we start, smoking these non-Cubans." And a lot of these shops are investing and putting a lot into non-Cuban cigars. So it's a good time for non-Cuban cigars in the rest of the world. Not maybe so much in Asia, but so that's what's happening in the Cuban world.
No, that'll be good. And I assume that you're going to bring some coverage of the festival back to Simply
I hope
Stogies.
so.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
that's
I
the
always
goal.
do. Hopefully we'll get Brooks on. I haven't spoken to him, but I'll speak to him when we're out there. And that's the plan, to do it right after, do actually a live episode is what we're talking about. So where it'll
It's
be really fresh in both of our minds. And, I will report back on what the status and the current state of Havana and Cuba and Cuban cigars.
looking forward to it. But speaking of non-Cuban cigars, Nick, do you know where we like to get our non-Cuban cigars?
Well, I'm really happy about one of this sponsor that you're going to obviously talk about. Go
Right.
ahead, give him the spiel on our real good spot.
Smallbatchcigar.com.
That's it.
Obviously, yeah. So I can't do this as good as James does it. So that's why we always have James doing these read-ins. But Small Batch Cigar is one of those websites. It's our sponsor, our exclusive online retailer, where if you use coupon code, I believe it's Stogies. Is it Stogies? It is, in fact,
Okay,
Stogies.
that's good to
Yeah,
know
see,
that.
I
Yeah,
had to bring that up. But using the coupon code Stogies, you can get 10% off your purchase plus 5% rewards points. I love rewards points. I'm kind of I think I'm one of those guys that retailers don't like when it comes to reward points because I like to save mine up and just try to get my
what's wrong with
reward
that?
point out.
That means you got to accumulate them, and you got to buy a
I
lot to get them.
know.
So I think they
I,
like it. Believe
That's
me.
what I like to do. I like to just save them up so that when it's my birthday, which by the way, happy birthday, James. It's a
That's
little
right.
late, but happy
Couple
birthday,
days.
James. And yeah, mine's right around the corner, although we always forget. We
When is your
always forget.
birthday? Monday?
I'm the Ides of March.
Yeah, what
So
day?
I'm the 15th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm the 15th. So what I'm going to do is take
You
all
know
my
when mine
rewards
is? Not
points.
that you care,
No.
but you
Yours is
should.
like right at the same time, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The
Yeah.
14th.
Oh,
The
shit.
14th.
Yeah. Well,
So,
happy
oh, look at
birthday to
that.
you.
Well, I don't like talking about birthdays,
No, I
but
don't either. But
you
uh,
know,
yeah, I'm
but I
going to use
guess
all
it's
my reward
important.
points. Yeah.
Yeah. And I gotta say, shameless plug,
Do it.
what I really, really like about small batch is they do these sampler packs.
Oh, yeah.
And because people had requested it, on the comments and their Instagram and stuff, hey, how about an LH sampler pack?
Get out
And
of
I
here.
am very happy to report that if you've never heard of my cigar or much less smoked it, a good way to get a good look. I believe I have a blend for anybody, and they
Mm-hmm.
do a 5 pack with 5 different LH cigars, LH and Nick cigars, and I'm happy to report that they're very happy with not only the response and the feedback, but I invite you to try them. This way, I don't have to tell you how good they are. You can find out for yourself, and please, love to hear your comments, good, bad, or indifferent. But I'm pretty proud of the stuff that comes out of my factory, and I think you will be pleasantly surprised if you have not had a cigar that I've blended. So
Um,
that's my shameless plug.
you
Enough.
know what? That's not a shameless plug. I would agree with everything you said, and like I just said, 10% plus 5% rewards. Coupon Stogie, smallbatchcigar.com. Pick up some LH, and you know what? Speaking of just two cigars that I always, or two companies that I always want in my humidor. Obviously, one is LH, right?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
thanks. Because I'm here. All right. Yeah.
no, this is truth, man, truth.
All right.
Lure cigars. Lure
Oh yeah,
cigars. If
our
you
friend
haven't
Lou.
tried Lure cigars, you need to try it. Specifically, the Holy Coley. Uh, Very great cigar. It's a Nicaraguan Puro, Habano wrapper, and a flavor profile of leather, roasted coffee, and baking spices, and a hint of cedar. Just a great cigar. Matter of fact, all of his cigars are good cigars. I
And you know
believe,
what else? He's a
yeah,
good dude. He's a good guy.
dude,
I want to smoke his cigars because he's a good guy. So
he's real.
yes, he
Like
is.
he's one of the
He's
real guys. I
he's very
can't.
passionate, and I'm sure he's very happy to be in this business, at least now. I hope he is down the road because it's not an easy business, but if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And if you can
Nope.
devote time and do something and create stuff that other people are enjoying, then I'm sure Lou it's a high. And I'm sure he's feeling that now because of the accolades that he's getting. And
Mm-hmm.
people are enjoying his cigars and go out and have a Lure cigar. Please
Yeah.
tell him Nick sent you. Tell
Tell
Lou.
him Nick sent you. Yeah. Smoke great cigars and tell tall tales. That's the Lure slogan, and it is true. So definitely look out for those. Mild Kentucky Herf, Ashland, Kentucky, May 11th, 2025. Are you going to be there, Nick, as well?
It looks that way.
It looks
Looks
that
that
way.
way.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. There's still a lot of logistics in play
Hmm.
here,
Hmm.
but that's going to be a really great show. If you've never
Well,
gone
it has
to
been in the past, so I think it's probably only going to be better. Every year it
it,
gets better. I think this is the fourth year.
yeah, I'm
It's,
not sure. This will be the first year for me.
oh, you have,
Uh,
yeah,
I have
you will
never been
enjoy it.
there.
You
I
will
have never
enjoy it.
been there. We have a lot of cool things that we're working with my old Kentucky Herf on, and we're really excited about it. We've had a couple of meetings already with them, so I can't give you any details right now because I don't have those. But I do know we
Well,
have
since
some
I
really
don't
cool
know
things planned.
what's going on, I can only tell you that from years past, what you can expect is at least 20 different brand owners or representatives that'll be there. So you get at least 20 cigars, a whole
Mm-hmm.
bunch of swag. You get to meet the principals, the brokers, the people that are representing these brands. It's a great time to get FaceTime with everybody. They have, I'm sure they're going to have bands. There's a charity involved. And you know what? Dwight, the owner, and Steven are really, really down to earth guys. And I really do love those guys. And I do like going to Kentucky. I mean, I don't get out there for
Right.
any other reason, but you know what? It's definitely a destination spot. And I wish that that shop was closer to me. I would love for that to be my home shop because lots of great people in that shop and great cigars.
Absolutely. And I think if you go to fatash.com/events between now and the end of February, you can get an early bird special pricing of $225. After that, it's going to bump up to $250. But either way, there is an option to upgrade to a pit pass for only $100. And from my understanding, that pit pass is they're gonna take all of the swag, all the cigars, all that good stuff that you would get that normally you would have to wait in all those lines for. They're going to put it in a bag for you, and you're going to get that bag, and you can kind of avoid that mad rush and go around and do your meet and greet as things start to slow down. There's a little bit more room and time to have those conversations. And look, we're going to be there, so why would you not want to be there?
Okay.
Well, that might be why you don't want to be there now
Maybe.
that I
Well,
say that.
this year Tim's going to be there. So
I am. I
if you
am.
want to meet Tim, I don't know why, but if you
Nobody
do,
wants to meet me.
uh,
I'm always the
Tim,
guy.
you're the behind the scenes guy,
I like,
definitely an integral part of this show. And
well,
and you're the tech guy. I like to consider myself the tech guy, but you're the tech guy of this show for sure.
well,
And
I think you're the tech guy and I'm the geek. I'm the
okay,
nerd.
whatever. Okay, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But yeah, Tim will be
Yeah.
there for the first time, and if you want to meet Tim, because he's usually doing stuff behind the scenes. Well, yeah, it's
Well, yeah, I've been
PCA.
doing all
You're
the
there
stuff behind the scenes for quite a long time, and now I'm starting to have to come out from behind the camera, behind the control board, and do a few more things. So,
now to the, what do you
um,
call that little thing you're in? The fishing tent?
the
What is
yeah,
that?
the Lure Cigar Ice Fishing Tent, the
There you
Ice
go.
Fishing Lounge.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I have concrete underneath my feet and not 4 inches or more of ice to
What
do
about a
some ice.
heater? You got a
I do
heater in
have,
there?
I do, yeah, I do have a
That's good.
heater. It's around 33 degrees outside right now, so without the heater, and really the reason for the tent is, and I'm in a tent in my garage. It sounds silly, but this tent is a smaller footprint for a heater to heat
Makes
the air.
sense. Sure.
So, you know,
Hopefully you
uh,
have good ventilation so you don't
I
smoke yourself out.
I do. So I'm working on a review for a product. It should be, if it's not a competitor to Rabbit Air, it
Hmm.
should be a competitor. Um, I think they market more just towards clean air within your house, but it does all the same things, all the same features.
All right.
So I'm working on that. We're
Have
probably
you
going to get
tried
about,
it?
oh yeah, Yeah,
and
it
and it
works
takes.
well.
Oh, cool, very good.
Yeah, it works really well. So I'm working on a review of that. Obviously, I've got some material from the unboxing, and then probably around that 90-day mark, 90 days of use is where we're going to kind of see where we're at. Does it stand up to the test of time?
Cool,
So
very
that'll be
cool,
interesting.
excellent.
So anyway, we should probably get into the episode and talk a little bit about Joshua Habursky. Why is that name so damn hard for me?
Uh,
They all are.
and I can't correct you because I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Wait, don't
It's
we have anybody else to any
yeah,
other show
James.
sponsor?
Oh yeah, actually, I was just going to say before we get into this show, we have to cut and light a cigar, but
There
before
you
we
go.
can, I
Mm.
got to remind you, just like James normally would, but I'm going to do it this time. You can't clip my wings. You can't clip my wings, but you can clip my cigar, brought to you by Blackbird Cigar Company. If you haven't tried Blackbird Cigar Company, may I suggest you start with the Crow Box Pressed, a 6x52 box press cigar out of the Blackbird Dominica factory with a San Andreas wrapper, Dominican Republic, Habano binder, and fillers from Nicaragua and Pennsylvania, United States of America. Only 12,000 boxes, or 12,000 cigars, not boxes, 12,000 cigars have been released, and the MSRP around $13 per cigar. The Crow Box Pressed is a tasty little treat that you shouldn't miss out on. Find yours today before they are gone. Blackbird Cigar Company. You can't clip my wings, but you can clip my cigar. Whew.
Good job, Tim.
It sounds
You,
so
you got you,
unprofessional when I
you
do it.
got through it. It's
I
good.
did
No,
get through it. I
listen.
did get through it. What are
Yeah,
you smoking today, Nick?
I'm smoking a hotcake by HVC,
Is that
Rainier Lorenzo. It's kind
their
of like their hottest cigar, one of them. He's had a lot of great hits lately. So,
I think as I kind of just touch up here a little bit, make sure that I get my cigar lit. I think the original hot cake, and I don't even know how long ago that was, but that was a monster. Like I really liked that cigar. And thanks to James and this journey that we have embarked on, I haven't been able to revisit the hot cake for quite some time. So
mm,
you have to let me know
it's
how that is.
it's worth a visit for sure and a revisit.
Mm. I am smoking one of like right now. This is my favorite lure cigar, the Jolly Walleye. This thing, this thing is good. I like it. Matter of fact, when I found out that it's a seasonal limited release, I had to go out and get myself a couple packs of them because I didn't want to have to wait until the next season for them to come out. So, yeah,
Mm,
splurged a little bit to pick up some of these so that I can enjoy them through the year.
that's good.
Yeah. So anyway, episode with Josh, PCA, director of the PCA. I think that was a pretty
Newly
decent,
appointed within the
newly
last,
appointed.
yeah,
Yeah.
newly appointed director. Yeah.
What was it like a year and a half? I think is which would be right around the time of last year's the 2024 trade show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
when he got the title, but
I
he's
I
been with the company, I think, a year and a half. Has he been the director for a year and a half?
Nah,
As much as
so I'm
I
trying to
listen.
pick that out in the conversation, right? Because he was kind of talking about how long he had been a lobbyist, not an attorney, a lobbyist. And there were a couple numbers out there, 6 years. But what really caught my attention, I think, was that last PCA trade show, his boss at the time had to step away. So he was kind of put in charge and quickly had to make this whole show happen.
Yeah,
And I'm
as the
sure,
interim, he was the interim for a while, and then they gave him the official crowning of the title. And I got to tell you,
right,
he's really stepped up. I think the PCA has come a long way in the last few years, just getting back up to speed, so to speak. After the pandemic and everything, and you have the added I don't know if headache's the right word, but the logistics of now moving the show back to New Orleans. for a couple years and
Right.
all that's involved with that. And I think a lot of people, well, I don't say if they're looking forward to it. I am. I mean, I don't think the West Coast retailers like it so much because it's over on the East Coast this time. And years
Well, it's
past,
it's still Central Daylight Time in New Orleans, I believe.
is it Central?
I well, don't quote me on that, but I think when James and I were talking about coverage, this is one of
Hmm.
the things that always bother us because when we do our live streams and such,
Yeah.
there's that time difference. And I think we were talking like the time would be the same as me and James are currently in.
Yeah. I don't know if it's on the East or not. I thought it was East Coast time, but if it
Either
is
way.
East Coast, it's only an hour difference from what you're used
Right,
to.
right. An hour is going to be better than 2 hours for sure.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I
And
was
the big,
actually, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was shocked when Josh was saying that the trade show was only going to be in New Orleans for 2 years. And then after that, it was going to go back to Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's an experiment. I think they want to try other cities. There are a lot of other cities that they mentioned. But it's been done in New Orleans. It's worked in New Orleans. The negatives of the past, at least by the exhibitors and the attendees, where there wasn't an area that everybody could conjugate together, like there is in Vegas. The Circle Bar and all these. So
Mm-hmm.
they've took that and ran with it. And from what I understand, they have set up things like that at New Orleans where people can all kind of get together. They have a thing down the avenue, down the Bourbon Street, whatever the strip there. And I think they've made a lot of little changes that hopefully will make a big difference in the reception it gets from the attendees this year. I think it's going to definitely be better.
Yeah,
Definitely be better.
I think it'll be better. I really enjoyed to hear that they were taking the initiative, understanding that after the trade show, because it is for what the trade show is. And I know that I shouldn't say a lot, there have been listeners to Simply Stogies and the after show and so forth that really don't care too much for PCA related content. But it is kind of important, not only for understanding who they are and who the PCA is and what they do, but it's the meet and greets, right? The reunions that you have with people in the industry. I mean, just you, myself, and James. How often do we get to actually get together and smoke cigars and enjoy the hobby and
Well, I've always said the
spend.
best part of the PCA, at least for me, and I think most people feel this way, is just like you mentioned. You see these guys. For me, I have friends that I've known now for 20 years that sometimes I only get to see them once a year, and it's at the trade show. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that happy reunion and camaraderie of people in the industry. And I understand that a lot of our listeners are just cigar aficionados, smokers, what have you. But
Right,
and it's not a consumer show. It's not open to consumers. However,
right.
finding out about the new releases and what they have, what they can expect down the pike, I think is a good thing for consumers that are interested in what's new. What's new? It seems to be everybody's question. Well, here's where you find out.
Right. Well, and then, when we get to have those interviews, those 10 to 15-minute interviews with the faces of the brands, you know, to me, that, especially in Iowa, because we don't get too many brand owners that come to the middle, this little desert that's not a desert, but it's flyover country. So we don't get a lot of the big wigs, quote unquote, that swing by. And even when they do, I feel like it's so poorly advertised that by the time I find out that somebody's coming to town, there's not enough time to react.
Mm.
And I guess I don't. How is that? Is that kind of similar where you're at on the East Coast, or I just always imagine the East and West Coast just are constantly having events and industry brand owners, and they're just constantly going up and down the coastlines.
Yeah, I would I would imagine so. I mean, there seems to be no shortage here of the shops having, visitors, principals. But the idea is in more rural areas where you live, there is representation. There's brokers that the shop owners get to meet, and they become kind of the face for them in that area because it
Sure.
is kind of a haul kind of in the middle of nowhere to get to, unless you're driving through. And most people, it's a lot easier just to fly to, and it's not quite so easy to get to the. So, yeah, I would imagine I live in a metropolitan suburban area, of New York City. So I would imagine there's a lot of cigar smokers, cigar shops, I should say, where
Hmm.
people can visit, a lot of this. So, yeah, you're right. That's why the My Kentucky Herf is a great destination spot. Again, it's not somewhere that most people tend to go to. I would think LA, New York, Texas,
Yeah,
Atlanta,
Nashville,
Nashville, Chicago. Um,
Miami.
oh yeah, Miami. Well, Florida's a
Yeah,
huge
Florida in
cigar state.
general. Yeah.
But yeah, so in New Orleans, I don't know. There's a number of good shops in the New Orleans area, and it's obviously a fun city. People tend to go there for Mardi Gras and anything else that they're doing. But um, yeah, I haven't been to New Orleans in quite a number of years, so it'll be nice to see what changes not only with what the PCA is bringing this year to the show, but just in the general city. And they've had a lot of issues over the years, in New Orleans. So, but I
Hmm.
understand it's a resilient city, and they've bounced back. So I'm looking forward to it in
I
that
am looking
regard.
forward to it as well. I haven't been to New Orleans since Katrina. When was that? Like 2005?
Has it been that long?
Yeah, it's been a long
Wow,
time.
wow. See,
I want to say it was 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. That's when Katrina happened. I remember going down there with the guard, and yeah, that was torn up, and I have not been back since. So I'm really interested to see.
well, I
Uh,
have. I mean, they've had at least two shows that I've attended,
mhm.
the PCA, or at the time the IPCPR, has done there, and this time under new direction, and I think they're really making an effort. But as we know, the PCA is not just about trade shows. That's just an arm of their thing. Their big thing is fighting legislation and being representatives of the industry along with the CRA and everybody else and all the stuff that, I mean, why is Josh even there as a lobbyist? I mean, there was a lot of work that I'm sure he was directly involved
Oh,
with,
sure, over the past 6 or so
yeah.
years.
And we've had some really good wins. So as an industry, we should be happy as shit for what has happened and how things have gone our way, and not only in the original ruling, and we just got upheld in the appellate. So it looks like we're good. Now, though, you're talking about all kinds of other stuff. Like you said,
Hmm.
um, the states are now taking up this charge of trying to be, I don't know, where they felt the federal government, didn't do the job that they were looking for.
Right, right. And I was actually going to ask you, I know on you've got the manufacturing side, but you've also got the consumer side, way of thinking. So I kind of just wanted to get, your thought process on how important it is to be aware of those laws, especially I mean, maybe the federal level, yes, but then when they're not getting any traction on the federal level, naturally they're going to come to the state and start trying to get states to put in
Well,
individual laws.
I don't know. I just read something and I told a couple of friends and they thought I was joking. I read it in Tobacco Reporter that the federal government, now there's some new bill that's being introduced. They're trying to increase tobacco taxes a lot. And in relation to premium cigar, they're going to be charging, or they want to charge by the pound, by the weight
Oof.
of the cigar. And bottom line, cutting through all the whatever the article said, what I got out of it is your cigars will basically go up like 30% in taxes, which of course is going to affect the retail price.
Hmm.
But I don't see that going through. I don't know. which I don't remember who's
Didn't you say
introducing
that
it.
there were other countries that their taxes is by weight?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
sure.
know,
All
and
the United Kingdom and their territories, and Australia's like that. Canada is like. There's so many countries that are anti-tobacco, man. As it's a tough thing to be in this business where they just want to tax the shit out of you. But
right,
no disrespect to my marijuana smoking friends out there, but it seems like, man, you can smoke pot anywhere. I mean, I've always said, you go through the tunnel or the bridge in New York City, and all you smell
isn't
is marijuana. But
isn't
God
that
forbid you
crazy?
light a cigar, and you're ostracized. So
It's
it
so
drives me crazy.
crazy how you travel places, you go places, and the consumption of marijuana and the smell of marijuana has become so socially accepted. But yet, if somebody walks in and they smell like a cigarette or even a cigar,
Uh,
people are like, "Oh my gosh, you
Cigar
stink!"
especially, then you're really the enemy to a non-smoker anyway.
Right?
I
It
personally don't
just,
find the smell of marijuana very
mm,
pleasing, nor cigarettes, to be
I
perfectly honest. But I like a cigar. Obviously, that's why cigar aroma is to me, like smelling flowers. If for some people, I guess, I smell a cigar and I go, I am home. You know.
have you ever done this? I keep a bottle of or a can of like spray Febreze or whatever, just kind of close by, so that after I get done smoking two cigars out here in the garage, I can just kind of do a quick once over, so I just don't walk straight into the house and just reek like cigars. Like I'm okay with it. I don't think
Yeah,
my wife is.
I have a lot of friends that literally have to disrobe before they enter their house. You know what I mean? Um, the things we do as cigar smokers to enjoy our little finer things in life. But we do what we have to, and I mean, I remember when all these rulings came out before 2016. It was a big
Mhm.
scare, and everybody
Oh
was
yeah.
shitting in their pants. And I don't think could have gone better. And I think the PCA had a lot to do with that. They were definitely integral in fighting the good fight.
I know Josh was mentioning fighting some laws. I believe it was Indiana, and I'm not sure if that's one of the states. But the one thing that I've been seeing in the news lately, as far as anti-smoking laws, is where, and I don't know what it's called, and I'm sure you might, but it's basically they're saying if you were born on or after this date, you'll
Oh yeah.
never be able to purchase or smoke tobacco
Well,
uh,
UK
in
just
that state.
talked about something like that. But it's funny,
Hmm.
like you mentioned, the states, South Dakota, they want to raise their tobacco taxes. Mississippi had the Smoke Free Air Act that actually died in committee, which is good. So they're always going to be fighting. Ohio is proposing more than doubling the cigar tax in a new budget proposal. So you know, you're right. It's going to be fought at the state level in so many ways, and the PCA is involved with that as well, and they keep on top of it, and
Yeah,
keep doing what they're doing.
and I did like to hear, and I don't. Your camera is off. I don't know if you're tracking
Oh,
that or not. It just
I,
turned off like a second ago.
oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
New
I did
equipment.
like to hear that the PCA is on weekly or biweekly, but they're on phone calls. They're on conference calls with the CRA and the other what did they call it, the other NATO. I don't remember what that
Yeah,
acronym
what it
was.
stands for, yeah. No, they
Which
listen. They're working year round, even though it's one trade show, and I'm sure that's when they're busiest, getting it off and successfully. But throughout the year, they're fighting and they're doing what they're doing. So yeah, they keep active year round.
I think it's a good thing that the organizations, because the PCA kind of has a different fight level than the CRA and so forth, and it's nice to see that they're working together because I feel like not so long ago the organizations were kind of like, yeah, we know you're there and we'll play nice, but you stay out of my business, I'll stay out of your business.
Hmm.
After this episode, though, I don't necessarily know how true that was, because when James brought up the article from Half Wheel, where they were talking about all this money paying the lawyer and who fronted the majority of the cost and all that stuff. And that kind of the way that Josh kind of explained it is, we put in all this money up front and it worked. And so the way it just worked out is that they covered the cost on the back end, but we all put in a huge chunk of money to the overall cause. And there was a update to that article on halfwheel.com, and James didn't see it during the interview. But shortly after, I think even you had hung up by that time, he had reread the article and it was there. So Half Wheel did update that.
What I remember about the interview was that Josh very eloquently, articulated so many points, and even James was asking the right questions. There was a lot of time that even he wasn't asking questions because Josh was answering them before he was asking them. I mean, honestly, me, I didn't
Right.
speak at all because there was no reason for me to even think. He was just doing a great job, and he's quite the professional. I mean, I'm sure he's done a lot of these podcasts and speaking engagements, so he was on point. And he had just come back from Nicaragua. I believe he was there during for the Puro Sabor, so that was
Right.
good for him to get to mingle with the not only the manufacturers but a lot of consumers that visit that every year.
That is kind of a hard thing to do when you've got two co-hosts and you have a guest. And one co-host it seems like they're just railheading you or however you say it. But when the conversation is just going so smoothly, and I'm watching and I can see you're ready to inject something, you've got something, and then
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, I mean, it's just going too well. I
James
don't.
always asks me, "Hey, how come you didn't?" I'm like, "Listen, first of all, it's one thing when you're in person and you can
Mm-hmm.
have, more interjection, but when you're via remote, it's a lot of no, go ahead, no, you go ahead, no, you go ahead. And it just would trip up the interview. So, I mean, I don't think it makes for a good show when you're stumbling over each other. Where, look, James is the host. This is his baby and yours, and I'm very
Well,
comfortable
thank you.
with. I'm very comfortable with being. I like to call myself the color commentator. I'm here to respond and to interject whenever asked. If there's something that I think maybe wasn't covered, I would, but James does a great job, and I'm just along for the ride for most of it, and I listen like any other listener would do, and I think it makes for a better show that way.
Yeah, there's so many shows out there, and again, everybody's listening preferences are different. But for me, when you have three or four people all on a show, and everybody is trying to like fight to be part of the conversation, I feel like either it just becomes a lot of jabs and jokes and giggles, and you start to lose the
Well, I don't think
content
there's
of what you're
anything
trying to
wrong
do.
with a little levity in a show. It makes it more enjoyable, but
Right,
at the
right.
same time, we're here for what we're here for. If we're interviewing,
Hmm.
a manufacturer, we give them the stage, we give them the platform, and James guides them with the right questions. And I think it's a good show. That's why I'm still here.
Well, that and to make fun of me, I'm sure.
Well, that
Yeah.
goes without saying. Well, James does a good job of that. I try not to really rib it too much now.
I mean, James has just got a way with words and asking questions and being like involved. And, that's a talent. I don't really, and I'm not trying to,
It's that,
yeah, I'm not trying to do that.
but you are.
Uh, yeah, but I am. But I mean, it is a talent. Not anybody
No,
can do it.
no,
I can't even do
absolutely,
it.
absolutely. And
You know?
and the longer you do it, and he's been doing it for a long time,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
better you get at it. You know what I mean? If you
Mhm.
look at somebody's first episode, I never went back and I'll be honest, looked at James's first episode to now, but I'm sure there's been a lot of growth to where it is now. You know,
Oh yeah.
there is definitely experience plays a part, and comfort level, and just doing it, you know, week after
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, when he texted us and said, "Hey, I've got the black lung. I'm sick. Whatever. You guys have to do this." I'm like, "Oh shit." Yeah, I just have to do the read-ins and all that stuff. Yeah, whatever.
Well, you did it. You held down the fort, you know.
Yeah, you know, uh, there was a part in the interview where Josh was talking about the in the United States, like there are more places to stop and smoke a cigar, enjoy a cigar in the United States than anywhere else in the world. And as a guy who doesn't get to travel the world at all, well, I did twice, but Uncle Sam
Oh,
wouldn't let me off post.
okay.
Yeah, I just find that hard to believe. Like, I believe that, like, I just think that I could travel anywhere. I'm just going to pick a random country and there's going to be a cigar shop, you know, at least one in every town or something like that.
You'd be surprised. I mean, I've seen cities, countries fall one by one in the last 20, 25 years. You know, you go one year and the next year you go and you can't smoke anywhere. And it's as a cigar smoker, it's sad, but it makes us, you know, seek out where the cigar shops are or where you can smoke. Costa Rica, where my factory is, I love the country. It's very beautiful, you know, tropical, great weather. But damn, if you can't smoke a cigar, obviously at the factory, it's not
Right.
an issue. But outside, you go to a hotel. There's one thing, okay, we've gone and accepted. There's you can't smoke in a hotel, but you can't even smoke in the parking lot of a hotel in Costa Rica. You literally have to
That's
be off the
crazy.
property. And there's cities where you can't be on the sidewalk. You could be in the street, but you can't be on the public. And it's getting really bad. It's getting really bad out there.
I want to say in 0304 on my flight, it was either to or from, probably both actually, the Middle East. We swung through Ireland. And I want to say in '04, well, I know in '04 anyway, they let us all off the plane and everybody, there were a couple guys smoking cigars, a lot of people smoking cigarettes, but everybody's just out getting their nicotine fix. And then they all get on the plane. In '08, '09, when I made that same trip, they were like, yeah, there's no point in getting off the plane. You can't smoke anywhere in this country. And I don't know if that was true or if they were just telling
No,
us that.
probably very true. I remember first time I went to Scotland, it was like culture shock, not from Scotland history and heritage, but the fact there was nowhere you could smoke. And I went there during a cold time, you know, where you couldn't smoke outside, and there was literally nowhere inside. There was a lot of little shops that you could buy cigars, and I'd go in and go, hey, where can I smoke this? And they're like, yeah, good luck with that. There was one
Right.
hotel. There was one hotel that had this hut. I can't remember the name of it. It had this hut where there was no walls. There was like a bar in the middle of it, so it was kind of warmer there, but it was outside. So yeah, those 10
Wow.
days I spent there was pretty grueling, and unfortunately more and more cities. What I used to love, you know, I people that know me know that I used to travel to Cuba quite often. And I used to love going to Cuba because literally from the moment I woke up to the moment you know, for that 5 days, week long period, I literally smoked a cigar everywhere. I'm not even joking. You could smoke in the hospital. I went to a
Wow.
hospital one time to visit. I had a cigar, forgot, and nobody said anything to me. And I was like, "Holy shit, I'm smoking it!" Like, now, after the whole U.S., you know, kind of invasion during the Obama time, where he opened it up a bit,
Hmm.
all of a sudden hotels started dropping like flies. I remember the first one, which just happened to be the one that I always used to go to, which was the Mila Cohiba. And I was in the lobby and I was smoking a cigar like I usually do at 2 in the morning, trying to get some internet time. At the time, that was like the only place you could get is at hotel,
Right.
buying a little
Yeah.
card. And the security guy came over and go, Nick, I'm sorry, but you can't smoke. And I go, what? What did you say? I can't smoke. I thought he was joking. And after that hotel implemented it, and the reason that was the first, because it seemed like all the Americans were going to that hotel.
Hmm.
And then every hotel. And then it was now there's very, very like unless you're outside, man, there's really no place you could smoke other than the cigar lounges. Unfortunately, there's a lot of those still left, the Casa de Habanoses and things. But outside of that, even Cuba has fallen. You know, the country known best for cigars you can't smoke. I would say now probably Nicaragua is one of the better places where you can smoke. And believe it or not,
I was
Lebanon, Beirut,
really.
yeah, and they changed going back about this point, it's probably about 10 years, maybe 8 years. They had a change where you weren't allowed to smoke indoors and you had to have all these different fixes and but you know, that country smokes everything from the hookahs to
Right.
there's it's a lot of smoking. And I still think there's a lot of smoking there. There's a lot of cigar smokers in Lebanon and Beirut, and specifically where I spent a lot of time. But that's the only two countries that I can think of that are pretty open to it. And in Europe, they're still a little bit more open to being able to smoke outside. I was in Greece this last summer. And
Hmm.
what I loved about that is, there was a million coffee shops. So I love an espresso with a cigar. And I
Oh
would sit
yeah.
outside and I'd be like looking around if I could smoke this cigar or not. Thankfully, they were like, no problem. If you were outside, you could light up a cigar. It didn't matter. I was always respectful to make sure I wasn't offending anybody, but it was pretty open. I was pretty happy about that. Again, not too many places indoors where you could smoke, but outdoor, still okay for the most part.
It just blows my mind, that when we kind of sit there and say, "Hey, I really like this product, this cigar. I enjoy smoking it," and I just take it for granted that I'm always going to be able to smoke my cigars and do whatever I want. And when you're not paying attention, there's people calling shots behind the scene that may or may not uh, have an anti-smoking agenda. I mean, I couldn't imagine being able to say, okay, for the flight, the hotel, like everything, blah blah blah, for this festival in Nicaragua, I'm going to fly there, spend a week. It's a little vacation, and I'm going to get the same amount of cigars, if not more, for that price than I would buying it from my local brick and mortar. Like I just couldn't imagine that.
Well, for most countries, as bad as we think the taxes are here in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
we're still pretty good compared to other countries and cigar taxes. So,
Right.
especially in Europe, I mean, everywhere. I mean, I can't think of any place that is more open tax wise, and there are certain states that are, a lot heavier than other states. You have
Right.
states like Pennsylvania and Florida where there's zero state tobacco taxes, so you just have the federal tax. But again, that's nothing close to comparison to what some of these other countries are imposing, and the stuff that's coming down the pike. It's getting to be harder and harder to enjoy
Mm-hmm.
our products.
I had a friend who was traveling. He was just the next state over. He was in Nebraska, and he's texting me pictures of cigars. Like basically he's just asking me what should I smoke, and I'm like, for those prices, nothing. Like leave. Like holy crap, the taxes. I think it was like 60 cents per stick. I had to look it up. It was crazy
Which is not
ridiculous.
bad. 60 cents is actually good. There are states like
Right.
New York State at 75% tax, on the wholesale price. California, 70%. So there's probably Hawaii, Alaska, very high
Mm,
taxes.
yeah.
But again, that's part of, being able to enjoy the cigar. But, you got countries like Canada or anything that's in the kingdom, there's no place indoors you can smoke. And that's a cold country when it's,
Right.
not in season. So I don't know where you enjoy your cigar in Canada. But then again, you don't have to go far. California, it's gotten really bad there. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
walking down the street in Santa Monica and a cop telling me, and I just literally walked out of a cigar shop. buying a cigar and smoking it on the street, thinking, "Oh, I'm safe." Within seconds, the cop said, "Hey, you got to put that out." I go, "What?" But
Right.
I'm in the street, and they're like, "No, you can't smoke outdoors in Santa Monica." So,
Right.
and
Yeah.
other
Forest
stuff.
fires. Well, I don't.
Well,
Yeah.
they got a reason there, but I mean, I was nowhere near the, the trees. But
Right.
anyway,
I
yeah.
just don't ever want to get to the point where, in order to enjoy a cigar, I got to be out here in my garage in my tent underneath four blankets with no lights on, so that nobody finds out.
Well,
And that's
thankfully,
kind
we
of
don't.
why. Yeah.
We can still enjoy our cigars, and there's plenty of places in the United States and every state where it's getting more difficult, but it's still there's plenty of places where you can, and where there's a will, there's a way.
Right. Last question for you, and then we'll get out of here.
Shoot.
When it comes to like members of the government, your representatives and voting, right? I see a lot of text messages come through. That's just gotten crazy. You see commercials. You can go to like little rallies and stuff. Do you, as a consumer, take into account their views on cigars or tobacco before they win your vote? Or is it just I've got so many more important things that mean more?
Well, nothing means more to me than cigars. So, having said
Right.
that, maybe taxes and that probably means more to me than cigars. But yeah, no, I that definitely factors into my voting process, and I don't always vote party lines, but I tend to go one way than the other, because again, historically they've been more pro cigars or
Hmm.
pro smoking, and so yeah, that definitely factors in. Sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that the other day because we do have that one gentleman here in the state. He makes those. They're basically like small Connex boxes that you can, they're really nice. They're also kind of expensive, but you can sit there and smoke them, and it sucks out all the smoke, and they're really comfortable.
Is that the
He's
ones you put in your house and stuff?
you can put them in your
I
house.
think I
Yeah,
saw them at the trade show a couple
they
years ago. I don't know if they were
yup.
last year, but the year before
I
they were there.
didn't see him last year, and I did reach out to one of the contacts. Not well before this winter hit, because I wanted to touch base with them and see if we could get them on the podcast. Maybe kind of see if I can work out some sort of deal or something. But I don't know if that gentleman is still working there or they're just getting ready for the next trade show or what's going on. I haven't heard anything back yet, so I might reach out to them again, but. That's neither here nor there. Let's see. What's next? You got your calendar handy?
Tell us. No,
All
I don't.
right. So obviously, February 15th, we've got this is a list, folks.
All right.
February 15th, Simply Stogies Podcast. Going to catch up with Vlada Stoyanov from Som Cigars. That should be a fun episode. Looking forward to that one. The week after that, of course, naturally, Clear the Air is back, where we're going to talk about Vlada behind his back for everybody to hear, including Vlada himself if he chooses. March 1st, James and Nick, you'll have Risty from JSK on the show. That should be a good one.
Mm.
I have not met Risty yet, but he sounds like a
Oh,
fun
he's an
guy.
interesting character. He really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice
So
guy too. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that show as well. Clear the Air is going to obviously come back after that show. We do this. It's just this continuous pattern that we do. March 7th is our 2 cigar minimum after dark live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. I think we stream on Instagram as well, but we can't see your comments. So if you're watching on Instagram, we can't see what you're saying to us. So jump over to Facebook, YouTube. Let's just do Facebook, YouTube, because I'm not even sure yet if we can see Rumble comments yet either. That's a fun show. All of our LE Club members jump on, or whoever from our LE Club membership is available to jump on, and they become part of the show. It's quite fun. If you want to be an LE Club member, just go to simplystogies.com. Up at the very top, there's a link for LE Club. It's $10 a month or $100 a year, and you get to attend live. You get to be part of the show and throughout the year, there might be some other goodies too. It's hard to say. Time travel, right?
It's hard.
March 15th. March 15th, my
Your
birthday.
birthday. Yes,
This
you know, I
one,
know
this
that.
one is super special. This is a big one. I can't give you the details because I don't want to let the cat out of the bag until the record button has been hit, the questions have been asked, and it's all good. It's done. It's ready to go. So it's going to be big. I promise. Stay tuned for that. And then, of course, we have our newsletter. You can go to simplystogies.com, throw in your email address. That'll subscribe you to our newsletter. We're only going to give you an email with a newsletter once a month. It's just a recap of what's going on and when our next live stream
I got
is
to
going to
say, I
be.
got one a couple weeks ago, whenever it
Yeah,
was out. It
yeah.
was very well done.
It's pretty
Kudos.
sharp, if I do
Yeah,
say so
it was good.
myself.
I have to say so too.
Trying to keep it simple. We're not going to spam the heck out of you. I don't like to be spammed. We know you don't like to be spammed, so it's just going to be once a month, unless you reach out and say, I like being spammed. Then I'll send you a few more. And then last but not least, Simply Stogies Festival. Not really sold on the name yet, my friend, but
Well, we'll
until
figure
we
it
come
out.
up with something else, that's what it's going to be. It's September 6th, right here, Livermore, Iowa. Nick, I believe you are going to be there. Grace us with your
I
presence.
will. Yes, I will. I get to
LH
go to
branded.
Livermore, Iowa, and see my good friends Shauna and Mr. Bowl
Brian.
and Brian.
Yeah, Brian and Shauna. I
Brian.
love those guys. It's just a great lounge. It's 2 hours away from me, so it's a trip every time I
Isn't that
go
the
there. And
closest shop to you too?
no, I
I'm
think
just
I've got
kidding.
like
No, I'm
6
just
lounges
kidding.
really close to me. But
Yeah,
no,
I'm just
I
kidding.
love making the journey up there. I spend the entire day. Sometimes they even stay open late just so that I can hang out and have some good laughs. So if you're in the neighborhood or have the ability to do a little bit of traveling, put September 6th on your calendar and we'll see you there for sure. Until next time, I guess, for James, who is not here, stay smoky, friends.